Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to be learning the basics of demand, what it is, what changes it, and how we can use that information to help us as both businesses and consumers. So to get started, demand is the quantity of a product or service that customers as a whole are willing to buy at a certain price. So let's break that down. Quantity means number. So how many of a product or service that all of the customers are willing to buy at a certain price. Okay, the key to this definition is it says at a certain price. So the demand, the quantity that all of the consumers want of our business's product or service is going to be different at different prices. Okay, and when we talk about price, the formal definition of that is the dollar amount a customer is willing to give a business for a product or service. All right, so let's dive into it. How do we as a business create demand? How do we get customers who are willing and able to spend money on our products? Well, first, customers have to be aware of our product or service. They have to know that it exists, or they're not going to desire it, and they're not going to be able to or want to buy it, and therefore there is no demand for the product. The next thing is we need to make sure that the product or service is in a convenient location for them to be able to purchase it. Okay, customers might like the idea of a product, but if they would have to get on an airplane or drive for 4 hours to be able to get to a single location where it's available, they're likely not going to be willing to do that. And therefore that's going to impact the demand. So we have to make sure if we want to create more demand for a product that it's either convenient and in a good location for them. And third, we need to create scarcity. Okay, scarcity by definition means that there is a limited amount, or in essence, there is not an unlimited amount. So for example, air is unlimited. Okay, so there is not any demand to spend a lot of money to buy air when it's unlimited. Okay. However, in a place like outer space or underwater where air is limited or not available, people are willing to pay a lot of money for an air tank or an ability to breathe in those places if they want to go there. Okay, so as a business in general, the more scarce something is, often actually creates more demand for the product. Okay, and we're going to look at that one a little bit closer. So this is an image of a Wayne Gretzky rookie year hockey card. If you're not familiar with sports cards, this would have been made out of like a thick paper, basically like a cardboard. And it has a photo printed on it and it has some stats printed on it on the back. Okay, so in essence, it's basically a sticky note, right? Like a sticky note is made out of paper. Okay, it's roughly the same size, it's a color. Okay, and yet this hockey card today, there is at least one person, and we just need at least one to create the demand, that would have been willing to pay $3.75 million for that piece of paper. Okay, whereas this sticky note, like what, 5 cents? Okay, so if they're basically the same thing, what makes that hockey card worth so much more money? Well, that would be the scarcity of it, okay? Because it was created a long time ago and not many of them were made, okay? There's not a lot of them available and they have some sentimental value to people and therefore people are willing to pay more for it, all right? Once demand has been created for a product, the main things that's going to change that demand is the price. Because if we think back to that definition, right, we're looking at the quantity that people as a whole are willing to buy at a specific price. And so that demand changes, that quantity changes at the different prices. And this is referred to as the law of demand. Okay, a law, if you study sciences, means it is always true. It's been proven to always be true. So the law of demand states that if prices go up, demand goes down. And if prices go down, demand goes up. Okay, It's an opposite relationship, but hopefully it makes logical sense to you. If you think of a time during the year when a lot of stores put their items on sale, maybe Black Friday, maybe Boxing Day, when we know about those sales, the prices being brought down, we see a huge number of people that are now willing to buy the product. So when the price went down, demand went up. Okay, and I think logically for you, if there's something that you've been buying a lot of and then all of the sudden the price goes way up, you maybe wouldn't be buying as many of them anymore. Okay, so a lot of these things in economics, especially with demand, you can think about it fairly logically. You do have to remember that it's all consumers. Okay, so we do have to think about, does everybody act the same as me? But a lot of it's going to be pretty logical for you. Okay, so for demand, we generally create a graph to represent demand. Okay, and the graph is going to look something like this. The line may not always be perfectly straight. It may be a little bit of a curve one way or the other, but it's always going to start in this top left-hand corner and come down to this bottom right-hand corner. Okay, what this line is basically a whole bunch of dots, that's all any lines are, of the different demand at different prices, because we know our definition for demand is at a specific price. Okay, so what we've done is we've picked a specific product and we found out the information about the customers as a whole. So we know that at $2, there are 300 customers that are willing to buy this product. Okay, that's how this graph would work. Price is on the left and the quantity is at the bottom. So to demonstrate our law of demand, if price goes up, okay, let's say we're going to go up to $3. Now when we follow that across to our line, our demand line, and then drop that down, we're going to see that only 200 people are now willing to buy that product. So at $2, we could have sold 300 of them. But if we increase our price to $3, then only 200 customers are willing to buy it. Okay? And this continues to be true all along the line. In the reverse, okay, if we start out at that $3 with the 200 customers wanting it, and the price goes down to $2, then when we bring that across to our graph and drop it down, we're going to see that there's now 300 customers that are willing to purchase that product. So this is demonstrating the law of demand. You will notice that when the price changes, all we are doing is finding a new dot on the line that already exists, because the line itself is just made up of a whole bunch of dots at each of the different prices that represent the law of demand. All right, so price is the main thing that's going to change our demand, but there are a few other things that could change it, okay? And this is what we call non-price changes in demand. So as you can imagine, they are anything that are not the price changing. As I mentioned, if it's the price changing, we're simply going to find a new dot on the line. But if it's something other than the price that is changing, we're actually going to see the whole line changed. Okay? And so we're going to take a look at what some of the main reasons are for demand. Okay? The first one is population. Population is defined as the number of people living in an area. So I hope that makes sense to you. If somebody was selling an item in a small town that maybe had 100 people living in it, the best demand that they could possibly have is going to be 100 people. Okay? But if they take that item and instead sell it in an area with 100,000 people in it, okay, they have a lot more people that are able to create demand for their product without them doing anything different like changing the price. So if the population, the number of people in the area where the items are being sold go up, okay, we can assume that demand is going to go up. And if the population in an area where an item is being sold goes down, we can assume that demand is going to go down as well. All right. If we look at this on our graphs, we know that when the population goes up, demand is going to go up, but the price has not changed. So the price is going to continue to be $3, but instead of having a 200 demand, we need a higher demand. So we on the same price line would need to come over to the right to get a higher quantity. All right. And then this would be true at every price that makes up the demand line. All right. And so we're just going to completely shift the demand line over to the right-hand side. All right, and if we look at the reverse, if the population goes down, we know that demand will go down. So again, we're starting at this $3 price, but the price is not changing. But we are at that same price going to have a lower quantity. So we are going to end up with a point that's moved over to the left-hand side. All right, and then we know every single other point along the line is going to do the same thing. So we're simply going to see a new demand line that has been shifted to the left. So really, no matter what the reason is, as long as it is not a price reason that demand has changed, we are going to see the line, what we call shift. Okay, it's going to go to the right if demand has gone up, and it's going to go to the left if demand has gone down. All right, let's look at the next reason. So the next reason has to do with the amount of income. So income is the amount of money that each person in an area earns. So now we're assuming the number of people in the area stay the same. So if we go back to our small village of 100 people, that's staying the same. But if everybody made $70 a week, or if everybody made $200 a week, we're going to see a very big difference in the amount of money that society as a whole has. And if people have more money, we are generally going to see a higher demand for certain products. All right, so in general, when income goes up, demand is going to also go up. There's a few products where that's not true, but we're just going to focus on what we call to be normal products where that is true. And when income goes down, demand goes down. All right. When we look at our graphs, again, income is not the price of the item changing. And so we are going to be seeing those shifts happening. When income goes up, we know demand goes up, and therefore we're going to have a shift to the right. And when income goes down, demand goes down, and therefore we're going to have that shift to the left. The next reason why our demand could change will have to do with societal preferences or trends. This, in essence, is what people are into, what's fashionable, what's on trend, what are the influencers saying that everybody must buy. All right, so the number of people hasn't changed. The amount of money those people have hasn't changed. The price of the product itself hasn't changed. But all of a sudden, we're going to see certain things get really, really popular or really, really unpopular. A great example from about a year ago was when Crocs became really popular again. Crocs were really popular back when I was in high school, and then they became really unpopular, and nobody was really wearing them. And then all of a sudden they become popular again. And in that whole time, their price did not change, but the amount of demand for their products would have. So if an item is popular or fashionable, then we are going to see an increase in demand. Okay, not that long ago, we saw a bunch of social media influencers talking about baking your own bread during COVID, and all of a sudden you couldn't find flour anywhere because there was such a high demand they couldn't keep it in the stores. All right, and we've seen this happen with a whole bunch of trends throughout society. If something all of a sudden becomes unpopular or not fashionable anymore, or maybe a social media influencer or somebody has written an article saying that something is unhealthy for us or we shouldn't do it, then we are going to see the demand for that product go down, whether they change the price or not. All right, and our graphs, as we know, this is a non-price change. The price of the item hasn't changed, and so we're going to be seeing a shift. When something is popular, we said the demand will go up, and so we will shift to the right. When something is not popular, demand goes down, so we will shift to the left. All right. Next, we're going to get a little more complex here, is what we think is going to happen in the future. So the price of the item today is not changing. So it is not a price change. However, it's the understanding of society that the price might change on the item in the future. And that's going to affect our behavior today. Okay, so if you heard on the radio that gas prices are going to be going up tomorrow, okay, all of a sudden we are going to see the demand today go up. People are worried the price is going to get higher, and so they want to stock up when the price is perceived in their brains to be lower. Okay, the price itself hasn't changed yet, so it's not a price change of the product, but it's just what we think is going to happen. Okay, in reverse, if we know that a big sale day is coming up, let's say it's 2 weeks before Black Friday, we know that the price is likely to go down in the future. And so today, I'm not going to buy it. Okay, unless it's an emergency, I'm going to be like, I'm going to wait a few weeks and see if the price is lower. And so the demand today, even though the prices of the products have not changed at all, is going to be much lower. All right, again, when we go to our graphs, even though it says the word price, it's future price. So the price of the item has not changed today. So we are going to see that shifting of the line. If the future price is expected to go up, the demand today is going to go up, and therefore we're going to shift to the right. Right is always when the demand's gone up. And if the future price is predicted to go down, then our demand today is going to go down, and we are going to see that shift to the left, because left is always when that demand goes down. All right. Next, we're going to talk about something called substitute products. So in a lot of industries and a lot of products and services that exist, we see products that are slightly different, but that people will use instead of each other. So we're not talking about different brands of the exact same product, okay? But we're looking at two products that basically get consumed the same way or at the same times for consumers, that they could choose one over the other. So the example we're giving here is our butter or margarine, okay? If you're not familiar, okay, margarine is a manufactured alternative to butter. Generally, people either put margarine on their bread or they put butter on their bread. Okay, they cook with margarine or they cook with butter. Most houses have one or the other. Okay, they are not the same product, but they are used at the same time. They're both used for cooking. They're both used for baking. They're both used for putting it on bread. Okay, so if there is a really dramatic price change in the product that you always buy, you might be willing to choose the substitute product. You're going to use one or the other when we talk about substitute products. So let's say that we are Grey Valley Butter. Okay, we are the business that creates butter. If there is a significant price increase in Baysell, we don't control Baysell. We had no influence over this, okay? But all of a sudden, all of the margarine prices went up dramatically. What's going to happen to the demand for my product? I have not changed the price. The price of butter has not changed, okay? But if a lot of the people that always bought margarine or Baysell, okay, all of a sudden the price of their product is much higher, then a bunch of them are probably going to come over and buy my product instead. So when the price of the substitute product goes up, we actually see the demand for our product go up because some people are going to switch over. Whereas if I am butter and all of a sudden margarine has a really big sale and their price goes way down, a bunch of customers that traditionally purchase from me are probably going to buy that one instead. They're not buying both. So if they buy theirs, they're not buying mine, and therefore demand is going to go down. All right. Again, even though we have the word price here, we have to remember it says substitutes price. So the price of our item is not changing. Therefore, this is a shift of the line. When the substitute price goes up, the demand goes up, and therefore we're going to shift to the right. All right, and when the substitute price goes down, the demand goes down, and therefore we're going to shift to the left. All right. Next, we're going to talk about products that we call complementary products. So just like with substitute products, we're actually looking at a price change in a different product, not our product. But instead of being something you buy instead of, complement products are products that we often buy together. So a lot of times when customers buy hot dogs, they also buy hot dog buns. Okay, you can think of some other things together. When people buy cereal, they also buy milk. Okay, when people buy, I'm thinking summer foods here, hamburgers, they buy hamburger buns. Okay, when people buy taco meats, they're going to buy taco shells. Okay, you can think of lots of other examples and even non-food examples. Okay, so if we know that when somebody is buying one, they're almost always buying the other. Okay, if we are hot dogs, our price is not changing. However, if there is a price change in the buns, the thing that people are going to want to buy together, if that price changes, then that combined price changes, and therefore the demand for the whole package is going to change. And so their price change is going to affect my product. So if we are hot dogs and the hot dog bun prices go way up, way, 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 way up, okay, a bunch of people are not going to be willing to buy those hot dog buns, and therefore are then not going to grab hot dogs to go with their hot dog buns. And so as hot dogs, our price has not changed, but we are going to see a decrease in demand. Okay. On the flip side, if we are hot dogs and the hot dog bun prices go way down, they go on sale. Okay, more people, the law of demand tells us, more people are going to buy hot dog buns, and likely a good number of them are going to grab a package of hot dogs along with their buns. So we are going to see the demand for hot dogs go up, even though the price of hot dogs has not changed. All right, so once again, we're seeing the word price here, but it's not on its own. It's the complementary product's price. The price of my product has not changed. Therefore, we're going to see a shift in the line. If the complementary items price went down, those hot dog buns went on sale, we know the demand for our product is going to go up, and therefore we're going to see that shift in the line to the right. Whereas if the complementary price went up, we know that demand went down, and therefore we're going to see that shift to the left in our demand line. All right, so just to recap for you, when you're working through problems on this, okay, we're going to do it in a few steps. First, did the price of the item whose demand we are doing change? If it did, if it's just the price change, then we are seeing over here in the green area that we are simply moving the dot along the line, because the line is all the variations of those price. That's where the law of demand comes in. When price goes down, quantity goes up. When price goes up, quantity goes down. If there is any other reason for demand to change, including a future price change that's predicted, the price change of a complementary or substitute products, or any of those other things that we went over, okay, we are seeing a full movement in our line. And a reminder that once you've figured out which way it's going, if it's an increase in demand, we shift to the right. If it's a decrease in demand, we shift to the left. So first, is it a price change? If so, we're moving the dot and figure out which way. If it's not a price change, you're then going to use your logic and figure out, is demand going up or is demand going down? And then you're going to shift your line to the right or to the left. All right, the best way to get this straight in your head is to practice, practice, practice. So go ahead and get started on those practice activities.